My name is Dawad. I'm from what you might see as know as being GMS Brixton, which is in London. I follow GMS. I'm not. They don't. They probably don't recognize me as being a part of the actual group itself, but I do follow their teachings. I follow and I believe that they have the truth. Alright, I follow the elders of Great Millstone and the brothers therein. And firstly, I like to say Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. The topic, of this video is reproving Gocc on their doctrine, which states that a few Edomites will be saved in the day of Yahweh Shai's return, which is in the times to come, that there will be a few Edomites that the Lord will deliver and will receive salvation, which means deliverance from destruction. And as you know, the Edomites is the ancient identity of so-called white people, so-called Europeans, so you can understand. And this whole video that I make is to totally debunk and reprove that, because that is a false teaching, and there's no reference within the scriptures that reinforces that claim. There's no scriptures that say that. First, I'd like to bring out the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. So this is talking about the house of Jacob, which is the southern kingdom, which represents Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Excuse me. Which are so-called Negroes or blacks, so you can see. And the house of Joseph represents the remaining tribes, the Latin tribes. Okay. And the house of reading on from verse 18. And the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. Alright, so Esau is, like I said, the individual. Esau is the forefather of all so-called Europeans. He's the progenitor of the so-called Caucasian race. And through him come the Edomites. You see? Which are these so-called, like I said, so-called white people. So it says, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord or Yahweh have spoken it. Okay, so that's a prophecy that the Most High had given to Obadiah to foretell of the total eradication and extermination of all Europeans, of all individuals that descend from Esau. The whole house, another word for house is basically bloodline, lineage, descendancy, will be totally eradicated and exterminated. Okay. Now, as you can see around the earth, so-called Europeans are still walking around, and in fact they're in rulership. Okay. In fact, I'd like to bring out another scripture. This is the book of this is the Apocrypha, which is, as you can see, authorized King James version, part of the original King James Bible 1611. Second Esdras chapter 6, verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. That goes back to the book of Genesis. Okay. Verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay. So Esau is in rulership right now. They're in power. As you might know, as being the Rothschilds, which is the head of the Edomites. Okay. And they're currently in their position of power. They're in their power seat right now. But Esau, they will be the end of this world, this present world. And Jacob will be the beginning of it that follow. Alright? So that scripture there is just to prove that Esau is in power right now, the so-called white man. Alright, the so-called Europeans. But there will be a point where they will be totally eradicated. And that vision or prophecy will be fulfilled at the end of 1,000 years. The first millennium. Alright? According to Revelations. This is the book of Revelation.